Close your eyes and let yourself drift back through the centuries to the mist-covered rice paddies of 12th century China. It is the height of the Song dynasty, a time of poets and peasants, of Confucian order and quiet human longing. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth, the hum of cicadas, the distant murmur of village life. Tonight we wander through this world, not with urgency, but with quiet curiosity. Let the rhythm of their lives lull you, as we explore the hidden corners of a medieval Chinese village, where duty and desire quietly intertwined. Imagine yourself, if you will, not in the comfort of your present moment, but transported back, far back to the year 1150 CE. The setting is a small, unassuming Song village, nestled amidst vast, verdant landscapes. And you are, for the purpose of our quiet contemplation, a peasant, your days dictated by the relentless demands of the land and the unwavering expectations of a deeply traditional society. Your existence is defined by unceasing toil, simple sustenance, and a pervasive awareness of your place within the intricate social order, all under the watchful, silent eye of Confucian ideals. The first sensation that might envelop you is the profound connection to the earth. Your days are spent planting rice in muddy fields. Imagine the feeling of cool, rich mud squelching between your toes as you carefully wade through the flooded paddies. The air would be humid, heavy with the scent of damp soil and the fresh, green aroma of young rice shoots. The sounds would be rhythmic and constant, the gentle sloshing of water with every step, the distant buzz of insects, and the quiet murmurs of fellow villagers engaged in the same communal labor. This is a quiet, profound dance with the land, demanding both physical strength and unwavering patience. Your diet, though providing sustenance, is humble. Your meals consist primarily of congee, a thin rice porridge, often flavored with a few wild greens, or perhaps a preserved vegetable if you are fortunate. Imagine the bland, yet comforting warmth of the congee in a simple earthenware bowl, eaten quickly to regain strength for more labor. The taste is subtle, a pure reflection of the staple grain. There would be little variety, only the quiet understanding that each bowl provides the energy needed to face another demanding day. As dusk settles, you return to your bamboo hut, a small, simple structure with an earthen floor and perhaps a thatched roof. The air inside might carry the faint scent of dried bamboo, wood smoke from a small cooking fire, and the pervasive, earthy smell of the land. Your rest is found on a simple mat, perhaps shared with family, in a space that offers little in the way of private refuge. The sounds within would be domestic and hushed, the quiet breathing of sleeping family members, the gentle rustle of straw, and the subtle chirping of crickets from outside. However, beyond the physical grind, there is a pervasive social dimension that dictates much of your life. The quiet hum of village life carries with it a constant awareness of reputation and propriety. Romantic gossip could deeply shame your family. Imagine the subtle glances exchanged across a communal well, the hushed conversations among women preparing vegetables, or the quiet observations of elders. A young man or woman stepping outside the accepted norms of courtship, perhaps showing too much interest in someone from a different social standing, or worse, someone already betrothed, could bring a quiet yet profound dishonor to their entire lineage. The very air seems to carry unspoken judgments and expectations. The sensory details of this existence are profound, immersing you in the quiet grind. You experience the damp chill of monsoon rains, feeling the water soak your simple clothes as you work, or listening to its steady drumming on your hut's roof. You witness the soft, warm glow of lanterns illuminating the village paths at night, casting long, dancing shadows, creating pockets of quiet intimacy amidst the vast darkness. And beneath it all, there is a constant, subtle fear of Confucian disapproval. This fear is not of overt punishment, but of the quiet, pervasive societal judgment, the loss of face, the subtle but profound social ostracization that could follow a perceived moral transgression. It is a quiet burden influencing every interaction, every decision. To exist in such a state, to navigate daily life under the watchful eye of tradition, the demanding rhythms of nature, and the subtle pressure of societal expectations required immense, quiet discipline. It demanded an understanding of your place, a respect for custom, and a profound resilience in the face of constant physical and social demands. The rhythm of your days would be a constant, subtle negotiation of endurance, quiet conformity, and the deep, almost primal, connection to the land that sustained your very existence. From the demanding rhythms of daily peasant life and the ever-present shadow of Confucian societal expectations, let us now gently turn our gaze inward towards the quiet stirrings of the human heart. In the very same song village, beneath the rigid surface of arranged marriages and familial duty, lay a vibrant, hidden world of longing and connection. This segment invites you to immerse yourself in the subtle dance of secret loves, where individual desires sought pathways through the tightly woven fabric of tradition. Imagine your hands, accustomed to the rough texture of rice stalks, now delicately engaged in a different craft. You are weaving silk. The soft rhythmic click of the loom, the gentle hum of the threads, and the cool, smooth feel of the silk gliding through your fingers would create a calming, almost meditative atmosphere. Perhaps you are at home or in a communal workshop, surrounded by the quiet industry of others. Your outward demeanor is one of diligence, but perhaps your thoughts drift elsewhere. Life in the village, though laborious, was punctuated by moments of communal celebration. Imagine the gentle excitement as you attend lantern festivals. The air would be filled with the subtle aroma of warm paper and glowing wax. The sounds would be soft, the distant murmur of happy crowds, the gentle rustle of paper lanterns swaying in the night breeze, and the faint, sweet strains of distant music. In the soft, diffused light of countless lanterns, amidst the gentle press of people, opportunities for fleeting, unspoken communication would arise. It is in such moments that stolen glances spark forbidden romances. Imagine your eyes meeting another's across a crowded square, a brief flicker of recognition, a shared understanding that transcends the bustling noise. This subtle exchange, a momentary connection, could ignite a quiet yearning, a secret understanding that defied the societal expectations of arranged marriages. The heart, after all, follows its own quiet rhythm. Communication, when it occurred, would be an art of subtle suggestion and quiet courage. You might find yourself hiding poems in rice sacks, small, folded pieces of paper tucked carefully amidst the grains, awaiting discovery by a prearranged hand. Imagine the nervous anticipation, the quiet hope that your words, delicate as they were, would convey the depth of your feelings without revealing too much. The faint, papery rustle as a message is hidden or found would be a sound laden with silent meaning. All this unfolds while diligently dodging matchmakers. These respected figures of the village would be constantly at work, quietly observing families, assessing suitability, and arranging unions based on economic advantage and social standing. Imagine their keen, discerning eyes, their hushed conversations, their subtle questions about eligible youths. Every furtive glance, every stolen moment, every hidden poem would carry the quiet tension of possible discovery and the profound shame it could bring upon your family. This segment deepens the immersion, drawing you into these quiet, romantic vignettes. Imagine a clandestine meeting on a moonlit bridge, its stone cool beneath your bare feet. The only sounds the gentle ripple of water below and the soft beating of your own heart. Or imagine the exchange of secret vows, whispered in the hush of a bamboo grove, vows that held more weight than any formal ceremony, for they sprang from true affection. The tension of defying arranged marriages would be a constant, subtle presence, a quiet defiance against a powerful societal current. To live this life of secret loves, of hidden desires, required a profound sense of quiet resilience and courage. It meant navigating a delicate balance between outward conformity and inward longing, finding small, precious moments of connection in a world that often valued duty above all else. The soft, melancholic pluck of a distant stringed instrument, the quiet rustle of a hidden poem, and the gentle sigh of a moonlit promise. These are the calming echoes of forbidden affections, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the timeless complexities of the human heart. From the intimate, hidden affections of village life, let us now gently ascend to a different sphere of love and longing, the world of the celebrated Song Dynasty poet, Su Shi. His life, filled with both scholarly brilliance and political turmoil, was also deeply intertwined with powerful personal emotions, often expressed through the eloquent brushstrokes of his poetry, subtly masking a series of intriguing personal scandals. This narrative invites you to calmly trace his extraordinary journey, exploring the complex place of love within a refined, yet often unforgiving, scholarly world. Imagine Su Shi, a man of immense talent and sharp wit, often seated amidst the quiet beauty of a scholarly retreat or a modest dwelling during his many travels. The air around him might carry the subtle, earthy scent of fresh ink in the dry, delicate aroma of aged paper, his constant companions. The dominant sounds would be hushed, the soft, rhythmic scratch of his brush as characters flowed onto silk or paper, the gentle rustle of scrolls, and perhaps the distant, calming drip of water from a garden fountain. Su Shi was a towering figure in the literary landscape of the Song Dynasty. His passionate writings covered a vast array of topics, from philosophical musings to vivid descriptions of nature. But it is in his love poems that we glimpse the profound depths of his heart. Imagine reading his verses, feeling the quiet longing, the tender remembrance, or the subtle melancholy woven into each carefully chosen word. His poetry was not merely intellectual exercise. It was an exquisite conduit for profound emotion, expressing both profound joy and deep sorrow. However, Su Shi's life was not confined to quiet contemplation and poetic creation. As a prominent scholar official, he navigated the treacherous currents of imperial politics, which often led to periods of exile. Imagine him banished from the bustling capital, traveling to remote provinces, perhaps by quiet riverboats or dusty paths. The sounds would shift from the refined quiet of his study to the gentle lapping of water against a boat, or the soft rustle of wind through distant fields. Yet, even in isolation, his spirit remained vibrant, and his personal life continued to unfold in ways that sometimes challenged societal norms. Indeed, his intense emotional life and open expressions of affection often led to rumored affairs. While public displays of affection were discouraged, and official marriages were typically arranged for political and social advantage, Su Shi possessed a deeply sensitive and affectionate nature. He experienced profound love and loss, particularly with his wives and concubines. Imagine the subtle whispers in aristocratic circles, the quiet observations of his personal attachments, which, while deeply human, could be seen as unconventional for a man of his standing. These were not scandalous in a graphic sense, but rather personal choices and relationships that subtly defied the rigid expectations placed upon a public figure. His writings often served as a subtle veil, allowing him to express intense personal feelings in a culturally acceptable, often allegorical manner. This dual existence, the public scholar and the passionate individual, highlights the complex place of love in a scholarly world. For someone of Su Shi's stature, personal affections were often secondary to duty, political allegiance, and intellectual pursuit. Yet, his life quietly demonstrates that even within such a structured environment, the heart found its own ways to connect, to grieve, and to express profound devotion. This segment allows us to reflect on the enduring power of human emotion and the subtle ways individuals navigate societal expectations. The soft scratch of a poet's brush, the quiet echo of a deeply felt verse, and the gentle sigh of a life lived passionately amidst both triumph and adversity. These are the calming whispers of a profound artistic and personal journey, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the timeless complexities of love and longing. From the complex romantic life of a celebrated song scholar, let us now gently turn our contemplation to a deeply intriguing and often controversial aspect of Song Dynasty culture, the mystery of foot binding. This practice, which began to emerge during this very era, profoundly shaped the lives of countless women and influenced societal notions of beauty, status, and even intimacy. This segment invites you on a soothing journey into its historical origins, exploring its subtle role in shaping social and personal existence. Imagine the quiet, private chambers of a wealthy song household, perhaps a daughter's room, where this tradition would have been meticulously practiced. The air might carry the delicate scent of perfumed powders or fragrant lotions. The sounds would be hushed, the soft rustle of fine fabrics, the gentle click of small, embroidered slippers, and the quiet murmur of a mother or maid attending to the intricate process. The central enigma lies in the question, why did foot binding emerge in the Song Dynasty? While its precise origins remain a subject of scholarly discussion, historical accounts suggest it began, perhaps subtly, among dancers or courtesans as a symbol of extreme delicacy and refinement. It then gradually spread upwards through the elite classes, becoming an expectation for women of status. Imagine the quiet, almost subconscious, societal pressures that would lead to the adoption of such a practice, where beauty standards became inextricably linked with physical alteration. The practice itself involved the gradual, careful binding of a young girl's feet, bending the toes beneath the sole, creating a small, arched form often referred to as a golden lotus. This was a meticulous daily ritual, carried out with patience and quiet dedication. The physical sensation for the individual would be a constant, subtle pressure, a pervasive awareness of the bound form. Yet the desired aesthetic was one of exquisite fragility and grace, making the woman appear almost to float. The sound of a woman with bound feet moving would be soft, deliberate, a gentle shuffle rather than a stride, subtly emphasizing her perceived delicacy. This practice also subtly yet profoundly shaped intimacy. For a woman with bound feet, movement was restricted, limiting her ability to engage in physical labor or travel independently. This enforced domesticity contributed to an ideal of feminine gentility and seclusion. In the private sphere of marriage, the bound foot, often exquisitely shod in tiny embroidered slippers, became an object of aesthetic appreciation and, for some, erotic fascination. Imagine the quiet rituals of dressing, the careful selection of foot coverings, and the hushed intimacy of private moments where the bound feet became a focal point. This was a complex interplay of physical constraint, aesthetic idealization, and the subtle dynamics of attraction within a highly structured society. Exploring historical accounts and archaeological clues allows us a quiet glimpse into this controversial tradition. We can read the quiet descriptions in ancient texts of the lotus gate or the beauty of the small, arched foot. Archaeological discoveries of small, elaborately embroidered slippers, too tiny for an unbound foot, silently testify to the widespread nature and aesthetic importance of the practice. These are the quiet, tangible remnants of a complex cultural phenomenon that spans centuries. This segment invites a soothing journey into a tradition that, while challenging for modern sensibilities, was deeply embedded in the cultural fabric of Song Dynasty China. It highlights the complex relationship between societal ideals, personal bodies, and the ever-shifting definitions of beauty and allure. The soft rustle of embroidered silk, the subtle shuffle of a delicate step, and the quiet questions about the origins of deeply ingrained traditions. These are the calming echoes of a unique historical practice, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation. From the intricate and often physically demanding world of village life and the intimate complexities of female beauty standards, let us now gently ascend to a contrasting sphere, the refined existence of a song scholar. This segment invites you to step into a world of intellectual pursuit, aesthetic pleasure, and subtle social constraints, offering a profound counterpoint to the arduous toil of the peasant and the quiet, hidden struggles of village romance. Imagine yourself, not amidst muddy rice paddies, but within the tranquil elegance of a garden pavilion. The air here would be cooler, infused with the delicate, sweet scent of blooming plum blossoms or fragrant orchids. The sounds would be hushed and serene, the gentle murmur of a nearby stream, the soft rustle of bamboo leaves in a light breeze, and the distant, melodic notes of a lute or a flute, played with quiet skill. This is a place designed for contemplation, for the quiet cultivation of the mind and spirit. Your days would be filled with intellectual pursuits. Imagine sitting at a polished wooden table, a fine brush held delicately in your hand as you write poetry. The soft, rhythmic scratch of the ink on fine paper, the delicate scent of the ink stick, and the satisfying visual of characters forming gracefully on the page would define many hours. Or perhaps you engage in painting, the subtle swish of the brush on silk, capturing the ethereal beauty of a misty mountain or a blossoming branch. Alongside these creative endeavors, the ritual of tea would be a central part of your day. Imagine holding a delicate ceramic cup, feeling its warmth as you sip fine tea. The subtle, earthy aroma of the brewed leaves, the quiet clinking of the cup against its saucer, and the lingering, nuanced taste on your tongue would offer moments of quiet reflection and refined pleasure. Often, these moments would be shared with fellow scholars, their soft, learned voices discussing philosophy, history, or the subtleties of a newly composed poem. Yet, despite this refined existence, the world of the song scholar was not without its own set of subtle limitations. Rigid etiquette governed nearly every aspect of social interaction. Imagine the careful bowing, the precise choice of words, the unspoken rules that dictated proper conduct in every setting, from a formal banquet to a casual stroll in the garden. This constant adherence to decorum, while creating an atmosphere of order and respect, also subtly constrained genuine emotional expression and spontaneous interaction. The sounds of conversation would be measured, polite, carefully modulated. And while the common peasant might contend with the quiet desperation of forbidden romance, the scholar faced the almost inevitable reality of arranged marriages, which often limited true love. For the elite, marriage was primarily a strategic alliance between powerful families, a means to consolidate wealth, influence, or political connections. Imagine the formal negotiations, the exchange of gifts, the quiet discussions of family lineage, and auspicious dates. Personal affection, while hoped for, was often a secondary consideration, a delicate flower that might or might not bloom within the structured confines of duty. The expectation was one of harmony and respect within the marital union, rather than passionate romantic love as a primary foundation. This segment allows us to reflect on the nature of privilege and its own unique set of constraints. While the scholar was spared the physical toil and raw struggle of the peasant, their lives were shaped by an equally powerful, though more subtle, set of social and intellectual expectations. The gentle rustle of a scholar's robe, the soft splash of water in a serene garden pond, and the quiet, measured cadence of intellectual debate, these are the calming echoes of a refined yet constrained existence, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the diverse forms that human experience can take within a single historical era. From the refined yet constrained world of the song scholar, let us now gently turn our gaze to a fascinating and often misunderstood aspect of Song Dynasty urban life, the realm of courtesans. These women, often highly educated and skilled in the arts, occupied a unique and complex space in society, offering not only companionship and entertainment, but also, for some, a sanctuary for hidden desires and a different form of intimate connection outside the rigid confines of conventional marriage. This segment invites you to ponder the subtle interplay of art, desire, and societal roles, exploring a nuanced facet of Song Dynasty intimacy. Imagine the soft glow of lanterns illuminating a quiet, elegant tea house or a private chamber in a city quarter known for its entertainment. The air might carry the delicate, sweet scent of jasmine perfume, mingling with the subtle aroma of lamp oil and the lingering fragrance of fine wine. The sounds would be soft and alluring, the gentle, skilled plucking of a pipa, its notes weaving a melancholic or joyous melody. The clear, nuanced voice of a woman singing a classical poem, or the quiet, appreciative murmurs of a small group of gentlemen. Unlike the arranged marriages of the elite or the quiet, often unexpressed desires of the peasantry, the world of the courtesan allowed for a different kind of connection. Many courtesans were renowned not just for their beauty, but for their mastery of poetry, calligraphy, music, and painting. They were often highly intelligent and witty companions, capable of engaging in sophisticated intellectual discourse with scholars and officials. Imagine the quiet intensity of such a conversation, the shared laughter over a clever verse, or the mutual appreciation for a beautifully executed painting. This sophisticated companionship sometimes blossomed into genuine affection and, indeed, intimate relationships that defied conventional societal norms. These relationships were often marked by a quiet understanding, a shared appreciation for beauty and emotion that might be absent in a purely arranged marriage. Imagine the soft rustle of silk as a courtesan moves gracefully, the subtle glances exchanged, the unhurried moments of shared appreciation for art or nature. These connections were, by their very nature, often discreet, existing in the quiet spaces between public expectation and private longing. The poems exchanged, the songs composed, and the shared moments in private gardens often served as the quiet language of these relationships. Consider historical accounts of famous courtesans and their relationships with prominent figures, including scholars and even emperors. These narratives often reveal profound emotional bonds, even if they existed outside the official recognition of marriage. The whispered names, the lingering reputation of certain courtesans as muses or confidants, speak to the depth of these connections. The phenomena of courtesans also reflected the complexity of Song Dynasty's societal desires. While Confucian ethics emphasized family lineage and social stability through arranged marriages, human desires for passion, intellectual kinship, and unburdened affection found expression in these less constrained environments. The courtesan quarters became places where the unspoken could be quietly acknowledged, where the rigid expectations of the family system could be momentarily set aside. The sounds of laughter, the clinking of wine cups, and the gentle strumming of a lute from these establishments offered a subtle counterpoint to the more formal sounds of official life. This segment allows us to reflect on the intricate ways societies manage and express human desires, even within rigid social structures. It highlights the existence of alternative pathways for intimacy and emotional connection beyond the prescribed norms. The soft, skilled notes of a musical instrument, the quiet eloquence of a shared poem, and the subtle dance of hidden desires. These are the calming echoes of a nuanced historical world, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the enduring complexities of love and human connection in all their varied forms. What if the most beautiful, sacred places in ancient Rome's temples held the secrets to bizarre love rituals? But daring to seek affection there risked not just your heart, but the terrifying wrath of the gods themselves. Imagine yourself, if you will, not in the comfort of your present moment, but transported back, far back, to the year 200 CE. The setting is a grand and hallowed space within the beating heart of Rome, the majestic temple of Venus, goddess of love, beauty, and fertility. And you are, for the purpose of our quiet contemplation, a young acolyte dedicating your days to the sacred duties within this ancient precinct. Your existence is defined by a meticulous service, a humble diet, and a pervasive awareness of your place within the intricate spiritual and social order, all under the watchful, silent eye of Roman tradition. The first sensation that might envelop you is the cool, smooth touch of ancient stone. Your days begin early, often with the task of sweeping marble floors. Imagine the gentle, rhythmic swish of the broom across the cool, polished surface, the quiet whisper of dust gathering. The air would be imbued with the unique scent of lingering incense clouds, a fragrant reminder of yesterday's solemn rituals, mingling with the clean aroma of fresh water used for purification. Each sweeping motion is a quiet act of devotion, maintaining the sacred space. As you move through the temple, performing your duties, you would find yourself subtly dodging priests' matchmaking schemes. The priests and priestesses of Venus, though devoted to the divine, were also keen observers of human nature and societal dynamics. Imagine their quiet, knowing glances, their hushed conversations about potential pairings among the temple's youthful attendants or visiting supplicants. Their influence could be gentle, perhaps a subtle suggestion here, a quiet arrangement there, all aimed at fostering harmonious unions, often with an eye towards family alliances. Your daily attire is simple and functional. Your tunic is threadbare, made of unadorned wool or linen, worn smooth from countless washings and the repetitive motions of your duties. The fabric might feel coarse against your skin, a constant, subtle reminder of your humble status within the temple hierarchy. The garment provides little warmth in the cool Roman mornings, or offers only minimal protection from the midday sun as it streams through the temple colonnades. Your diet, though providing basic sustenance, is unadorned. Your meals might consist primarily of olives, plump and briny, perhaps a small portion of simple bread, and fresh water. Imagine the slightly bitter, yet satisfying taste of the olives, a common staple. The meals would be eaten quickly, quietly, providing just enough energy for your demanding tasks. There would be little of the rich, varied fare of the Roman elite, only the quiet understanding that your sustenance was practical, sustaining your body for service. But beyond these routines of service and humble sustenance, there is a pervasive social dimension that dictates much of your behavior. The sacred space of the temple, while a place of devotion, was also a subtle stage for social interaction. Flirting during rituals risks divine wrath. Imagine the quiet solemnity of a prayer ceremony, the rhythmic chanting of the priests, the soft flickering light of oil lamps. A shared glance, a whispered word, a subtle gesture with a visiting worshiper or another acolyte could be seen as deeply disrespectful, an offense to the goddess herself. The sounds of your own movements, your own breaths, would be carefully controlled, maintaining the required reverence. The risk of divine displeasure was a quiet, omnipresent weight, guiding your every action. The segment immerses you in the quiet grind of daily life within the temple. You experience the subtle scent of incense clouds, thick and pervasive, clinging to every corner of the sacred space. You hear the deep, resonant chanting of priests, their voices rising and falling in rhythmic patterns, filling the marble halls with ancient reverence. And beneath it all, there is the subtle pressure to navigate Rome's odd temple courtship rites. Perhaps you observe the quiet offering of myrtle wreaths, a symbol of Venus, by hopeful lovers at the altar, a silent plea for favor in matters of the heart. The very air seems to hum with unspoken desires in the quiet, ritualized forms of attraction. To exist in such a state, to navigate daily life under the watchful eye of the gods, the demands of sacred duty, and the subtle pressures of societal expectations, required immense, quiet discipline. It demanded an understanding of your place, a respect for divine authority, and a profound resilience in the face of constant physical and social demands. The rhythm of your days would be a constant, subtle negotiation of endurance, quiet conformity, and the deep, almost primal, connection to the ancient traditions that sustained your very existence. From the disciplined duties and the quiet social pressures of a Roman temple acolyte, let us now gently draw closer to the more intricate and often hidden currents that flowed beneath the surface of sacred life, the peculiar romances of the temple. Within these hallowed walls, where divine reverence was paramount, human desires subtly intertwined with ritual, creating a fascinating tapestry of whispered vows and discreet affections. This segment invites you to immerse yourself in the subtle drama of longing that played out in the quiet corners of ancient Roman temples. Imagine your hands, accustomed to the sweeping of marble, now carefully engaged in a different, more delicate task. You light sacred lamps. The soft, subtle click of flint against wick, the brief hiss as the flame catches, and the gentle flicker of the newly ignited light would create a calming, almost meditative rhythm. The air around you would feel warm from the growing glow, carrying the faint, clean scent of burning olive oil, a gentle offering to the gods. As you move through the dimly lit corridors, performing this nightly ritual, your ears might become attuned to sounds not meant for public consumption. You might overhear whispers of secret vows made under Venus's statue. Imagine passing a shadowy alcove or a less frequented shrine, where two hushed voices speak of devotion not to the gods alone, but to each other. The words would be soft, barely audible, carrying the weight of deep personal promise. Perhaps you catch a glimpse of intertwined hands, or the brief, tender touch of fingers quickly withdrawn. The very air around the statue, normally imbued with the power of divine supplication, would now subtly carry the added intensity of human longing. Indeed, the temple, though a place of order, became a silent witness to strange rituals born of personal yearning. Imagine, for instance, the quiet, clandestine act of tying love knots with sacred cords. Perhaps a devotee, or even another acolyte, might subtly procure a length of cord, traditionally used for temple decorations or ceremonial bindings. With quiet, deliberate movements, under the cloak of night or during a less attended hour, they would carefully tie intricate knots, each one representing a secret wish, a hidden vow, or a plea for union with a beloved. The soft, dry snapping sound of the cord as it is pulled taut, the gentle rubbing of fibers as the knot is formed, these would be sounds pregnant with unspoken desire, binding couples in defiance of priestly rules that might prefer arranged unions or more public displays of piety. This segment deepens the immersion, drawing you into these quiet, romantic vignettes. Imagine the luminous beauty of moonlit offerings, small gifts left at an altar not just for a deity, but also as a coded message to a beloved. The faint scent of crushed petals or sweet cakes left on a cool stone, shimmering under the soft moonlight, would add to the hushed atmosphere. You might notice coded prayers, subtle changes in a person's ritualistic movements, or a particular emphasis in their muttered words, intended to convey a hidden message to another who understood the secret language. And beneath all this, a pervasive, quiet tension, the fear of being caught in forbidden temple romances, the constant vigilance, the subtle glances over one's shoulder, the quickening of the heart at an unexpected footstep. These would be the quiet, internal rhythms of lives lived on the edge of discovery. To exist in such a state, to navigate daily life within sacred walls, while harboring or witnessing such discreet affections, required a profound sense of quiet resilience and courage. It meant balancing pious duty with personal passion, finding small, precious moments of connection in a world that often valued public decorum above individual yearning. The soft flicker of a sacred lamp, the hushed whisper of a secret vow, and the gentle rustle of a love knot being tied, these are the calming echoes of hidden affections, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the timeless complexities of the human heart, even within the most hallowed of spaces. From the quiet, clandestine romances within the temple's hallowed walls, let us now gently shift our gaze to a more public, yet equally enigmatic, tale of love, poetry, and imperial displeasure, the story of Ovid, one of ancient Rome's most celebrated and ultimately exiled poets. His audacious works, particularly the notorious Ars Amatoria, offered Romans direct, often playful, advice on the art of seduction, inadvertently leading to his mysterious banishment and a profound clash with the moral aspirations of Emperor Augustus. This narrative invites you to calmly trace his fascinating journey, exploring how his provocative pen profoundly challenged the subtle boundaries of Roman morality. Imagine Ovid, a man of sparkling wit and profound poetic talent, moving through the vibrant, bustling streets of Augustan Rome. The air would be filled with the subtle aroma of market spices, distant cooking fires, and the pervasive scent of human activity. The sounds would be a constant, gentle hum, the murmur of countless conversations, the soft clatter of sandals on cobblestones, and the distant calls of street vendors. Ovid, observing all of this, distilled the complexities of human relationships into elegant verse. His most famous work, the Ars Amatoria, or The Art of Love, was a groundbreaking and, for some, deeply unsettling manual. It was a collection of poems that offered witty, practical advice on how to find, attract, and keep a lover in the sophisticated social circles of Rome. Imagine sitting quietly, perhaps by the soft glow of an oil lamp, and reading lines that might advise where to find suitable partners, how to dress, how to write love letters, or even how to pretend tears for effect. The very act of writing such explicit, direct advice on what was largely considered a private and often structured affair was audacious for its time. His provocative writings challenged the subtle, unspoken rules of propriety, offering a glimpse into the more unvarnished aspects of Roman romantic life. Beyond his written words, Ovid's life was also touched by rumored affairs. As a popular figure in Roman high society, he was known for his charm and his immersion in the lighter side of aristocratic life. While the details remain elusive, these quiet whispers of personal entanglements subtly contributed to his public image as a connoisseur of love, someone who perhaps lived as freely as he wrote. Imagine the subtle murmurs in elite Roman salons, the knowing glances exchanged when his name was mentioned in connection with various fashionable women. However, Ovid's life of sophisticated indulgence and provocative verse came to an abrupt and mysterious halt in 08 CE, when Emperor Augustus banished him to Tomis, a remote city on the Black Sea. The precise reason for this banishment by Augustus remains one of history's quiet enigmas. Ovid himself alluded to two crimes, a poem and an error, but never explicitly named the error. Historians quietly speculate that his Ars Amatoria, with its open discussion of seduction, deeply offended Augustus's ongoing moral reforms, which aimed to restore traditional Roman virtues and encourage marital fidelity. The poem's advice, perhaps even unintentionally, clashed profoundly with Roman morality as defined by the emperor. Imagine the sudden, chilling news of the imperial decree, the loss of his beloved Rome, the forced journey across vast distances to a desolate frontier. The sounds of his exile would have been stark, the lapping of cold foreign waves against a distant shore, the unfamiliar murmuring of a non-Roman tongue, and the quiet despair of separation from everything he knew. Even in exile, Ovid continued to write, producing works that lamented his fate and subtly hinted at the personal error that remained shrouded in mystery. This segment allows us to reflect on the complex interplay between artistic expression, societal expectations, and the powerful reach of imperial authority. The soft scratch of a poet's stylus, the gentle rustle of a controversial text, and the quiet, melancholic sigh of a life profoundly altered by an emperor's decree. These are the calming echoes of a fascinating Roman tale, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the subtle lines between art, morality, and fate. From the more public and intellectual controversies surrounding Ovid's poetic explorations of love, let us now gently descend into a specific and profound mystery that shook the very foundations of Roman elite society, the Bonadi scandal of 62 BCE. This segment invites you to explore a peculiar incident involving a women-only religious festival, a brazen male intruder, and the ensuing political tremor that rippled through the heart of Rome. It is a soothing journey into a sacred secret and its unexpected public unraveling. Imagine the quiet anticipation that would precede the annual Bonadi festival. This was an ancient sacred rite held in secret exclusively for Roman women. No man, not even an animal of the male sex, was permitted to witness its ceremonies. The goddess Bonadi, whose name simply means good goddess, was associated with fertility, healing, and chastity, and her rituals were often celebrated in the private residence of a high-ranking magistrate. Imagine the hushed preparations, the subtle lighting of lamps, the gentle rustle of women's garments as they gathered in solemn communion, creating an atmosphere of profound reverence and feminine solidarity. The sounds within would be soft, women's voices in gentle prayer, perhaps the soft pouring of ritualistic wine, or the quiet murmur of shared hymns. Then, into this most sacred and exclusive of spaces, something entirely unexpected and deeply shocking occurred. The festival in 62 BCE was hosted at the home of Julius Caesar, whose wife, Pompeia, was presiding. And somehow, a man, Publius Clodius Pulcher, managed to gain entry, disguised as a female flute player. Imagine the sudden, quiet gasp that might have rippled through the assembled women, the abrupt cessation of prayer as the disguise was subtly revealed. The very sanctity of the ritual was irrevocably breached. This leads to the core question: why was this women-only festival rocked by a male intruder? While Clodius claimed he entered by accident, historical accounts strongly suggest his motive was to meet Pompeia, with whom he was rumored to be having an affair. The act was not merely a social faux pas. It was an act of profound sacrilege, a direct transgression against a revered religious rite. Imagine the quiet fury of the women present, their sense of violation at such an audacious and disrespectful intrusion into their sacred space. The scandal quickly became a public sensation, despite the secrecy of the festival itself. It dramatically shook Rome's elite. Clodius, a populist politician, was promptly put on trial for sacrilege. This was no ordinary legal battle. It devolved into a highly publicized political spectacle, with prominent figures like Cicero testifying against Clodius and Caesar seeking to avoid political entanglement, divorcing Pompeia with the famous declaration that Caesar's wife must be above suspicion. The sounds of this aftermath would be the hushed whispers in the forum, the passionate yet measured tones of lawyers in court, and the quiet murmuring of gossip permeating the aristocratic villas. This segment delves into the layers of this fascinating historical incident, exploring both historical accounts and archaeological clues that hint at the nature of such secret rites. While no direct archaeological evidence of the specific breach exists, our understanding of Roman domestic architecture and the layout of elite homes helps us to quietly visualize the setting. The literary accounts, though sometimes biased, provide the narratives of the event, allowing us to reconstruct the atmosphere of both sacred devotion and profound shock. The soothing journey into a sacred mystery highlights the delicate balance between public morality, private desires, and the potent power of religious ritual in ancient Roman society. The soft rustle of women's robes in a sacred chamber, the sudden, quiet gasp of discovery, and the pervasive whispers of scandal that rippled through the elite. These are the calming echoes of a unique Roman incident, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the intricate web of ancient Roman life and its unexpected unravelings. From the broad scandal that briefly breached the sanctity of a women-only festival, Let us now gently turn our contemplation to an even more secluded and uniquely privileged, yet profoundly constrained existence, the life among Rome's Vestal Virgins. These women held a singular, sacred position within Roman society, standing apart from all others. This segment invites you to explore their elite yet isolated world, offering a striking contrast to the humble acolyte. As we observe their solemn duties and the rare whispers of forbidden desire that might sometimes touch even their hallowed lives, imagine stepping into the atrium vesta, the dwelling place of the Vestal Virgins, nestled quietly within the heart of the Roman Forum. The air here would feel ancient and still, imbued with the constant, subtle scent of wood smoke from the sacred fire and the cool, clean aroma of old stone. The sounds would be profoundly hushed, the soft, constant crackle of Vesta's sacred fire, a quiet, living heartbeat within the stone edifice, and perhaps the gentle swish of a heavy wool robe as a Vestal moves with quiet grace. Your life, were you a Vestal Virgin, would stand in stark contrast to that of a humble temple acolyte. Recruited at a young age, typically between 6 and 10 years old, you would be chosen from Rome's most noble families. This was a position of immense honor and privilege. Imagine the reverence in the eyes of Roman citizens as you passed, dressed in your distinctive white robes, your head adorned with the infula, a special white woolen ribbon wrapped around your hair. The quiet deference, the respectful silence, would subtly underscore your unique status. Your primary sacred duty was to tend Vesta's sacred fire, the eternal flame symbolic of Rome's perpetuity and security. This was a task of immense spiritual significance, a constant, quiet vigilance against its extinguishment, which was believed to portend disaster for the city. Imagine spending hours in silent contemplation, ensuring the flames danced and glowed, their warmth a constant presence in the cool stone temple. Beyond this, Vestals participated in vital public rituals, preparing sacred bread and performing other rites crucial for Rome's well-being. The sounds of these sacred ceremonies would be quiet, rhythmic, and deeply reverent. However, this profound privilege came with an equally profound constraint, your vow of chastity. For the duration of your 30-year service, 10 years of learning, 10 years of service, and 10 years of teaching, you were bound to remain a virgin, completely dedicating your life to the goddess Vesta. A strict vow stood in direct, quiet opposition to Rome's obsession with love rituals and the pervasive presence of Venus-related practices that we've already explored. Imagine the constant awareness of this vow, the quiet discipline required to maintain it in a society so openly fascinated with human desire and fertility. The world of the Vestals was elite yet uniquely isolated. While they wielded significant power, enjoying legal independence and special honors, their lives were largely separate from the bustling social life of Rome. They resided together in the Atrium Vesta, a quiet oasis removed from the public gaze, emerging only for sacred duties or specific public functions. The sounds of their daily lives would be the soft murmur of lessons, the quiet rustle of scrolls, and the measured cadence of their footsteps in the enclosed courtyards. Yet, even within this highly disciplined and sacred world, the human heart could, on rare occasions, feel the stirrings of longing. Thus, there were the rare whispers of forbidden desire. Though such instances were exceptionally rare and met with the severest of consequences, a Vestal found to have broken her vow was buried alive. A grim, silent punishment designed to avoid shedding her sacred blood. The very existence of these stories, even in hushed tones, underscores the profound human challenges faced by those under such solemn vows. Imagine the quiet dread that would accompany such a transgression, the pervasive fear of discovery, and the profound, silent implications of such a fate, where the earth itself claimed them in a final act of ritualistic cleansing. This segment allows us to reflect on the extraordinary demands placed upon certain individuals in ancient societies for the perceived well-being of the collective. It highlights the stark contrast between public duty and private longing, even for those at the very pinnacle of religious authority. The soft crackle of an eternal flame, the gentle rustle of a sacred robe, and the quiet, profound weight of a lifelong vow, these are the calming echoes of a uniquely privileged, yet deeply constrained existence, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation. From the unique and sacred constraints of the Vestal Virgins, let us now gently broaden our contemplation to encompass the wider landscape of Roman relationships. Moving beyond the temples and into the very heart of Roman homes, the intricate realities of marriage and divorce. This segment invites you to explore how Roman society, with its pragmatic approach to unions, shaped personal lives, often clashing with modern notions of romance, and revealing a fascinating blend of freedom and formality across different social strata. Imagine the quiet negotiations that would precede a Roman marriage, particularly among the elite. For many, marriage was not solely about personal affection, but a strategic alliance, a blending of families and fortunes. The purpose of Roman marriage was often dynastic, aimed at securing social standing, political influence, and the continuation of family lines. The sounds of these negotiations would be hushed, measured, conducted by the elder male heads of families, discussing dowries, political advantages, and the future prospects of their children. There were two primary forms of marriage, cum manu and sine manu. In a cum manu marriage, the wife legally passed into her husband's family, becoming subject to his authority. Imagine the quiet solemnity of such a transfer, a woman formally becoming part of a new household, her legal identity subtly shifting. In contrast, sine manu marriages, which became more common in the late Republic and imperial periods, allowed the wife to remain legally under the authority of her own father or, if independent, to remain legally autonomous. Imagine the subtle sense of freedom and agency this offered to women, who could retain control over their own property and inheritance. The rustle of legal documents, the scratching of a stylus on wax tablets, would accompany these formal arrangements, quiet yet profoundly impactful acts. Perhaps surprisingly, for many Romans, divorce was relatively easy. Unlike some other ancient cultures, Roman law allowed for the dissolution of marriage by either spouse, often simply through a declaration of intent. Imagine the quiet yet profound discussions that might lead to such a decision, the parting of ways. While ideal Roman virtues encourage lasting unions, the practical realities of political shifts, social disagreements, or even personal unhappiness meant that marriages could be ended, with a degree of formality but often without extensive legal hurdles. This ease of dissolution, particularly for women in sine manu marriages who retain their own property, suggests a pragmatic, often fluid approach to marital bonds, contrasting with the lifelong commitment often idealized in other cultures. This segment allows for a gentle contrast between the idealized notions of romantic love, sometimes expressed in poetry or secret temple rituals, and the pragmatic reality of Roman unions. For the wealthy patricians, marriage was often a means to an end, a strategic alliance carefully weighed for political advantage. Imagine the opulent wedding ceremonies, the sounds of flutes and hymns, yet beneath the celebratory veneer, a quiet understanding of the union's primary purpose. For the common plebeians, marriages were often simpler, perhaps driven more by necessity and the practicalities of shared labor, but still imbued with their own quiet forms of affection and companionship. The subtle societal pressures that influenced these choices were ever present. While personal attraction existed, it was often navigated within the framework of family expectations and social standing. The freedom to divorce, while seemingly modern, often came with its own set of social complexities and quiet judgments. The hushed whispers of family discussions, the soft signing of a legal document, and the quiet, almost imperceptible shifts in household dynamics These are the calming echoes of how Romans quietly managed their relationships, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the ancient complexities of love, duty, and social structure. And so, our tranquil journey through the intriguing and often peculiar world of ancient Rome's temples and mating rituals gently draws to its close. We have ventured into the disciplined daily life of a Roman temple acolyte, discovering the subtle social pressures and quiet matchmaking that permeate its sacred spaces. We then explored the intimate world of peculiar temple romances, witnessing whispered vows and secret love knots. We pondered the complex intersection of art and social consequence through the compelling tale of Ovid's exile, understanding how his bold writings clash with Roman morality. We delved into the profound mystery of the Bonadi scandal, uncovering a hidden ritual and its explosive public unraveling. We contrasted these experiences with the privileged, yet deeply constrained, existence of Rome's Vestal virgins, observing their sacred duties and the profound weight of their vows. Finally, we examined the broader realities of Roman marriage and divorce, discerning the pragmatic blend of formality and freedom that shaped relationships across society. What if your quiet search for meaning led you not to peace, but to a forgotten medieval Japanese village where the silence itself whispers tales of hunger, hardship, and the chilling specter of restless spirits? Imagine yourself, if you will, not in the comfort of your present moment, but transported back, far back, to the year 1450 CE. The setting is a quiet, desolate place near the ancient capital of Kyoto, a deserted village standing as a silent testament to a recent, brutal past. And you are, for the purpose of our quiet contemplation, a solitary wanderer, venturing into this stillness, seeking what little sustenance or shelter it might offer. Your existence here is defined by stark necessity, the pervasive atmosphere of abandonment, and a subtle, unsettling awareness of unseen presences. The first sensation that might envelop you is the profound quiet. The village is empty, its former inhabitants long gone. You move slowly, scavenging among charred timbers, the remnants of homes consumed by fire, a harsh reminder of conflict. Imagine the feeling of rough, splintered wood beneath your fingers, perhaps cold and damp. The air would be heavy with the scent of damp earth, decaying leaves, and the faint, acrid smell of old soot. The dominant sounds would be natural and pervasive, the soft, constant patter of rain on the few remaining roofs or the fallen debris, and the melancholic, distant caw of a crow, its call echoing through the empty spaces. Your journey through this forgotten landscape is physically demanding. The paths are overgrown, the ground uneven. Rain soaks your straw sandals, making them heavy and squelching with every step. Imagine the cool dampness against your feet, the subtle chafing as you move. Your clothing, likely simple and practical, would offer little protection from the persistent moisture that permeates the village. This is a quiet, persistent struggle against the elements and the weariness of constant movement. Your diet, dictated by scarcity, would be starkly simple. Your meals consist primarily of wild rice, perhaps gathered from abandoned paddies or cultivated patches that have reverted to nature, supplemented by any wild edibles you might find. Imagine the bland, yet sustaining, taste of the unhusked grains, perhaps chewed slowly to extract what little nourishment they offer. There would be no warmth from a roaring hearth, only the quiet understanding that each bite provides the minimal energy needed to face another day in this desolate place. But beyond these physical challenges, there is a pervasive psychological dimension that quietly affects your perceptions. As you move through the village, you encounter eerie shrines that unnerve you. These humble structures, perhaps overgrown with moss and vines, might contain forgotten offerings or weathered stone figures, their features softened by time and neglect. Imagine the subtle discomfort, the quiet sense of intrusion as you pass these neglected sacred spaces. They stand as silent witnesses to a past devotion, now touched by abandonment and the subtle feeling of restless spirits. This segment immerses you in the sensory grind of this deserted place. You experience the cool, pervasive dampness, the feeling of damp bamboo brushing against your clothes as you push through overgrowth. You hear the mournful crow calls echoing through the empty landscape, a sound that emphasizes the solitude and desolation. And beneath it all, there is the constant, subtle fear of restless spirits. This fear is not of overt danger, but of the quiet, pervasive feeling of being watched by unseen presences, of disturbing the repose of those who once lived and perhaps perished here. It is a quiet burden influencing every step, every glance. Into the shadows to exist in such a state. To navigate daily life within this abandoned landscape required immense, quiet discipline. It demanded an understanding of the impermanence of human endeavor, a respect for the unseen, and a profound resilience in the face of constant physical and psychological demands. The rhythm of your days would be a constant, subtle negotiation of survival, quiet observation, and the deep, almost primal connection to the echoes of a past that lingered in the very air. From the immediate, persistent dampness and the subtle fear of lingering spirits, let us now gently deepen our exploration into the profound stillness of this Japanese ghost village. The quiet here is not merely an absence of sound, but a pervasive presence, a canvas onto which the echoes of a lost past are subtly painted. This segment invites you to move with quiet curiosity through the abandoned structures, piecing together, through imagination, the lives that once filled these now silent spaces. Imagine yourself moving slowly, deliberately, as you explore abandoned huts. The doors, if still attached, might hang loosely on their hinges, creaking softly with the slightest breeze. The interior air would be cool, stagnant, perhaps carrying the faint scent of old earth and decaying straw from the tatami mats that might have once covered the floor. The sounds inside these quiet shells would be minimal. The soft tap of your straw sandal on the earthen floor, the gentle whisper of dust disturbed by your passage, and the distant, almost imperceptible drip of water from a slow leak in the roof. These silent dwellings, you might gently uncover remnants of lives abruptly interrupted. You could find broken lanterns, perhaps once casting a warm, inviting glow on family meals or evening conversations. Imagine the delicate feel of cracked paper or fractured bamboo as you carefully examine a forgotten piece. Nearby, you might discover fragments of faded scrolls, their inked characters barely discernible, perhaps remnants of household accounts, simple prayers, or even fragments of a personal letter. Imagine the subtle, dry scent of ancient paper, its texture brittle with age. As you carefully turn a piece over in your hand, pondering the hands that once held it, the eyes that once read its words. As you observe these quiet relics, your mind begins to imagine the farmers who fled samurai wars. You can picture them working the land, their hands calloused, their faces weathered by sun and wind. You can almost hear the soft murmur of their conversations, the gentle laughter of children, the rhythmic sound of their tools in the fields. The broken artifacts become quiet prompts, allowing you to reconstruct the quiet rhythms of their daily lives, their rising with the sun, their patient tending of the crops, their simple evening meals, all before the inevitable sudden approach of conflict shattered their peaceful existence. This segment deepens the immersion into the village's poignant silence. Beyond the individual huts, you might wander into the expansive, now deserted rice paddies. Imagine the vast, flat expanse, now perhaps overgrown with reeds and wild grasses. The neatly terraced fields of the past, now subtly blurred by nature's reclaiming hand. The soft swish of the wind through the tall grasses would be the only sound. where once the rhythmic slosh of human labor would have prevailed. The irrigation channels might be dry or choked with weeds, silent testaments to the sudden cessation of human care. Further within the village, you might find forgotten altars, perhaps a small stone Jesus statue covered in moss, or a simple wooden shrine dedicated to a local kami. Imagine the weathered stone, cool to the touch, the faint scent of damp earth around its base. These altars, once tended with quiet devotion, now stand in silent vigil, their original purpose muted by time and abandonment. They whisper of the villagers' beliefs, their hopes, and their quiet prayers for protection, prayers that perhaps, in the end, were not enough. And through all these quiet observations, a pervasive sense of the mystery of the village's end lingers in the air. There are no dramatic narratives in the stillness, only quiet implications. Was it a sudden attack? A slow decline? A desperate flight? The broken lanterns, the faded scrolls, the deserted patties, and the forgotten altars all point to a history that concluded abruptly, leaving behind only these subtle melancholic clues. The sounds of your own quiet breathing, the distant drip of water, and the soft rustle of the wind become the soundtrack to this silent, enduring mystery. To exist in such a space, to observe these silent testaments to a lost past, requires a profound sense of quiet observation and empathetic imagination. It demands an understanding of the fragility of human settlement and the powerful, transforming force of conflict. The cool air within an abandoned hut, the subtle scent of decay, and the profound, pervasive quiet, these are the calming echoes of a lost community, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the unseen histories that linger in desolate places. From the quiet, lingering silence of the abandoned village ruins, let us now gently shift our focus to a more personal narrative, one that embodies the broader, turbulent forces that often shaped medieval Japan. We turn our thoughts to Lady Aiko, a fictional noblewoman whose life, intertwined with such a village, was irrevocably altered by the very conflict that led to its abandonment. The devastating Onin War. This segment traces her quiet flight, the poignant experience of lost love, and the tragic ruin of her beloved village, all told in a soothing tone that evokes the profound, yet distant, chaos of feudal Japan. Imagine Lady Aiko, not a peasant, but a woman of gentle upbringing, accustomed to the subtle comforts of a noble household near the village. Her days might have been filled with quiet pursuits, the delicate art of poetry, the arrangement of flowers, or the measured strokes of calligraphy. The sounds around her would have been refined, the soft rustle of silk, the gentle clink of ceramic, teacups, and the distant, polite murmur of household retainers. Then, the distant whispers of war began to grow louder. The Onin War, a sprawling conflict that began in 1467, slowly enveloped the heart of Japan, turning Kyoto and its surrounding regions into a landscape of intermittent skirmishes and profound uncertainty. Imagine the subtle shift in the air, the growing tension that would permeate even the most secluded manor. The familiar sounds of daily life would gradually be punctuated by the distant, unsettling thump of marching feet or the far-off clash of steel. Carried faintly on the wind. As the conflict drew nearer, the decision to leave was made with quiet urgency. Imagine Lady Aiko's flight from her ancestral home. Not a frantic rush, but a hurried, deliberate departure under the cloak of night, perhaps, or in the early hours of a misty morning. The sounds would be hushed, the soft pat of straw sandals on damp earth, the gentle rustle of her traveling robes against tall grasses, and the quiet thud of her heart against her ribs. The air would be cool, perhaps carrying the damp scent of dew-laden leaves. She would carry only what was essential, the weight of a few precious belongings, a quiet burden in her arms. During this tumultuous period, the threads of her life, like many others, were tragically severed. Imagine the profound sorrow of loss, Love, perhaps a betrothed, a husband, or a dear family member, a warrior caught in the relentless tide of conflict, vanished amidst the chaos, or fell in battle. The grief would be a quiet, pervasive ache, a profound sense of absence. The memories of shared laughter, of quiet promises made under a moonlit sky, would become cherished, yet painful, whispers in her mind. There are no dramatic declarations. Here, only the silent, enduring weight of separation and loss, and then the quiet, devastating news of her village's fate. The very village we explored earlier, now a place of charred timbers and lingering shadows. Imagine the quiet despair of receiving such tidings. The home she knew, the community that had sustained her, now reduced to ruins. The village's ruin would not be a spectacle of fire and smoke to her, but a profound emptiness, a silent void where life once thrived. The sounds she might recall now transform into the echoes of what once was, muted by the pervasive stillness of destruction. This narrative, though fictional, traces the profound human experience of war's quiet impact. It is a story of resilience, of subtle endurance in the face of overwhelming forces. Lady Aiko's journey reflects the countless, unnamed individuals who quietly navigated the dangers and losses of feudal Japan. The gentle rustle of leaves on a lonely path, the distant murmur of an unseen conflict, and the profound, silent echo of a heart that carries loss. These are the calming whispers of a profound historical reality, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the quiet tragedies that often accompany grand historical events. From the poignant echoes of Lady Aiko's flight and the broader chaos of the Onin War, let us now gently shift our focus to a particular, intriguing detail that might emerge from the silent remnants of our ghost village, the mystery of the hidden scrolls. Imagine, if you will, the quiet discovery of ancient objects that offer a subtle, whispered glimpse into the hopes, fears, and desperate final acts of those who once called this place home. This segment invites you on a meditative dive into Japan's lost history, exploring the quiet secrets preserved beneath the earth dot as you continue your thoughtful exploration of the village ruins. Moving with quiet reverence through the overgrown foundations, a subtle clue might present itself. Perhaps beneath a collapsed hearth, or within the crumbling remnants of a forgotten storehouse, you notice something unexpected. A small, dry, earthen cavity, revealing the corner of something that does not belong to nature's reclaiming embrace. This leads us to the quiet question, why were scrolls buried in the village's ruins? The very act of carefully burying precious documents suggests a deliberate intent, a desperate hope for preservation amidst profound uncertainty. Imagine the hands that meticulously wrapped them, the quiet resolve in their movements as they committed these fragile pieces of knowledge to the earth, hoping they might one day be found, or simply survive the inevitable destruction above ground. The sounds during such an act would be hushed, perhaps only the gentle pat of earth being tamped down, a final, silent farewell. This segment allows us to explore archaeological clues and theories about their role. Were they family records, genealogies, tracing lineages that were now scattered or lost? Imagine the faded ink, the delicate lines of family names, each a silent testament to a life lived. Perhaps they were religious texts, prayers carefully copied, appeals to the gods for protection or solace during tumultuous times. The subtle scent of time-worn parchment, dry and earthy, would accompany such a discovery, a tangible link to a distant faith. Or, more intriguingly, could they contain secrets, perhaps land deeds, hidden caches of valuables, or even silent testimonies about the events that led to the village's abandonment? Archaeological findings from similar contexts often reveal such buried caches, providing invaluable insights into the daily lives and anxieties of people facing upheaval. The state of the scrolls, how they were wrapped, the type of container they were in, if any, and their precise location would all be quiet clues, allowing historians and archaeologists to subtly piece together the narrative of the village's final days. Imagine the quiet excitement of an archaeologist carefully brushing away layers of dust and earth, revealing the fragile rolled form of an ancient document, the soft whisper of a brush against dry soil, the gentle clink of a small tool, wood, accompany this patient work of discovery. The act of burying these scrolls speaks volumes without a single word. It suggests a community facing an existential threat, a people who understood the fragility of their existence and sought to preserve what they could, not for immediate use, but for a future uncertain. These hidden treasures represent a profound human impulse to protect knowledge, to record life, or to entrust fate to something beyond their control. They are the quiet, desperate cries of a past generation, reaching out across the centuries. This segment offers a meditative dive into Japan's lost history, emphasizing the quiet power of tangible artifacts to tell profound stories. The subtle scent of ancient paper emerging from the earth, the delicate texture of a time-worn scroll, and the profound questions they quietly pose about a vanished past. These are the calming echoes of hidden histories, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the enduring human desire to preserve and remember. From the quiet, poignant mysteries hidden within abandoned village, let us now gently shift our gaze to a profoundly contrasting world, the disciplined, yet ever turbulent, existence of a samurai lord during Japan's tumultuous medieval period. This segment invites you to step into a life of privilege and power, where honor and readiness were paramount, offering a stark counterpoint to the quiet struggle of the wanderer and the sorrow of the displaced villager. Imagine yourself, not scavenging among ruins, but within the meticulously ordered confines of a fortified manor, perhaps perched on a strategic hillside, overlooking fertile lands before their desolation. The air here would feel crisp, imbued with the clean scent of polished wood, the subtle aroma of freshly brewed green tea, and perhaps the faint metallic scent of well-maintained steel. The sounds would be precise and measured, the soft creak of wooden floorboards as disciplined footsteps pass, the distant, rhythmic thump of a wooden practice sword hitting a post, or the gentle, soothing drip of water in a serene rock garden. Your days as a samurai lord would be governed by a rigorous schedule, a testament to the discipline of the warrior class. Much of your time would be dedicated to training. Imagine observing your retainers and even participating yourself as you trained warriors in the various martial arts, the focused swish of a katana being drawn and sheathed, the soft thud of a bowstring as an arrow is released, or the quiet, strained grunts of men practicing their techniques. This continuous readiness was not for sport, but for survival in a fragmented and competitive age. Evenings, though offering respite, were also structured. You might find yourself in a formal chamber, participating in a quiet ceremony of hospitality. Imagine the gentle pouring of sake into small ceramic cups, its subtle, sweet aroma filling the air. The sounds would be soft, the quiet clink of cups, the measured tones of conversation, and perhaps the gentle strumming of a shamisen or koto played by a skilled musician in an adjacent room. These feasts were not merely for pleasure, but also served to strengthen bonds with loyal retainers and subtly display one's status. However, beneath this veneer of order and privilege, a constant tension quietly permeated your world. Rival clans loomed. Imagine the subtle dispatches brought by weary messengers, the coded warnings, the quiet intelligence gatherings that would occupy your thoughts. The sound of distant drum beats or the sight of smoke on the horizon would send ripples of anxiety through the most disciplined household. Trust was a rare commodity, and alliances were often fragile, shifting with the prevailing winds of power. The very walls of your fortified manor, though offering a sense of security, were constant reminders of the external threats. This segment explores the disciplined yet fundamentally turbulent world of Japan's warrior elite. Their lives were a delicate balance of refined culture and brutal pragmatism. They patronized the arts, embraced Zen philosophy, and cultivated a deep appreciation for beauty, yet they were always prepared for, and often engaged in, deadly conflict. The crisp snap of a banner in the wind, the quiet shing of a blade being drawn, and the profound, silent weight of constant vigilance. These are the calming echoes of a life defined by honor, discipline, and the ever-present shadow of imminent struggle, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the intricate world of medieval Japanese power. From the disciplined yet turbulent world of samurai lords, where human conflict shaped the landscape, let us now gently turn our thoughts to the invisible, yet deeply felt, dimensions of medieval Japanese belief, the lingering spirits that were thought to inhabit abandoned places. This segment invites you to explore the rich folklore surrounding restless presences, offering a contemplative lens through which to understand the subtle unease that might have permeated our ghost village. Imagine the pervasive sense of a subtle presence that might accompany you as you walk through such a deserted village, particularly as dusk settles or when the mist rolls in. In medieval Japan, the concept of spirits, or yurei, was deeply ingrained in the cultural consciousness. It was believed that individuals who died suddenly, violently, or with powerful unfulfilled yearnings might not pass peacefully into the afterlife. Instead, their spirits could linger, tied to the place of their demise or their deepest attachments. The very quiet of an abandoned village, broken only by the natural sounds, could be interpreted as a canvas for these unseen presences. This leads us to the quiet question: why would certain spirits linger in abandoned places? Often, these were individuals who suffered tragic ends during times of war, farmers caught in a skirmish, families displaced and perishing from hardship, or warriors falling far from home. Their attachments to life, their unresolved sorrows, or their yearning for peace could cause their essence to remain, subtly influencing the atmosphere of a place. Imagine the profound weight of a life cut short, the quiet regret of unsaid words, the silent ache of a home lost, all subtly contributing to the spiritual landscape. Japanese folklore details various types of these spirits. Some were unreal, vengeful, spirits born from profound wrongs, their presence radiating a quiet chill. Others were simply lost souls, yurei without specific malice, merely tethered to their earthly attachments. Consider how such beliefs would subtly shape a wanderer's perception of our ghost village. Every unidentifiable rustle, every unexpected cold spot, every faint, distant whisper of wind could be interpreted through the lens of these ancient beliefs. The sound of a single distant bird call, or the quiet drip of water from a hidden spring, might suddenly feel laden with unspoken meaning. To soothe these restless presences, or to prevent their emergence, various rituals for appeasement were often performed. Imagine Buddhist monks, after a battle or a period of upheaval, quietly chanting sutras or performing purification rites at a makeshift altar. The rhythmic, calming tones of their voices, the gentle burning of incense, and the thoughtful gestures would be aimed at guiding these lingering spirits towards peace. Even the simple act of leaving a small offering, a handful of rice or a fresh flower at a forgotten shrine, was a quiet gesture of respect, a subtle plea for harmony with the unseen. This segment offers a meditative exploration of how profound historical events like the Onin War and the abandonment of villages were not just physical phenomena, but also deeply spiritual ones. The lingering mist over a deserted paddy, the cool, quiet air within a crumbling hut, and the subtle, unseen threads of ancient beliefs. These are the calming echoes of a rich spiritual landscape, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on The ways in which human culture attempts to understand and interact with the mysteries beyond life dot as the echoes of these quiet, yet deeply evocative tales gently recede into the stillness of the past. Allow your mind to drift back to the comfort and tranquility of your own space, your own time. The distant calls of crows have quieted. The subtle rustle of hidden scrolls has faded. The journey through this fascinating age is complete. May your rest be deep and your dreams peaceful. Good night.